It was a special day for the senior students of St. Michael's School. Downtown, the kind of day that comes once in every school silver year and lives in stories for years after. The long-awaited excursion had finally arrived, and this time, it wasn't just some boring museum visit or nearby village hike. No. The principal himself had approved the school's request to visit the oldest cave in history at the Old West. That alone made the trip feel like something out of a movie. Excitement buzzed through the air like static. Students wore matching blue t-shirts, their bags stuffed with snacks, sunglasses, and anything else they thought would make the trip epic. Phone cameras were already working overtime. Selfies, TikToks, quick Snapchats, captioned Trip of the Year loading, flooded social media before the bus even left the school gate. Bus 13 was the biggest and newest bus in the school's fleet, fully air-conditioned, bright blue, and loud with music and laughter. Everyone scrambled to sit near their friends, and within minutes, the vehicle was pulsing with energy. The senior year students leaned out the windows, waving at others still stuck in boring classes. It was their day, the chosen ones. Among them was Chika, sitting by the window with her bag on her lap. She wasn't the loudest in the group. In fact, she preferred to watch. With her notebook tucked away and her glasses slightly tilted, she stared out of the window, observing as some students liked to make fun of her too. While others joked about going viral, Chika noticed the sky looking darker than usual, the clouds hanging heavier. But she said nothing. Her friend Ada sat beside her, snapping photos. "Chika, smile na," she nudged. Chika forced a grin, but her eyes returned to the road ahead. As the school gate shut behind them and bus 13 rolled forward, no one, not even the teachers, could have guessed what lay ahead. For now, it was all noise, hype, and freedom. But somewhere far ahead, the road was waiting, and it had a memory. The road out of the city started off smooth. The students had settled into a rhythm, laughing, singing, scrolling through phones, and making goofy videos that would eventually become memories. Even the teachers had relaxed, grateful that the students were in good spirits. The sun was still up, though hiding a little behind thickening clouds. A soft breeze moved through the open windows of the bus, bringing the scent of damp leaves. After about an hour on the main expressway, the bus slowed down near a fork in the road. The driver, a middle-aged man with a face worn by years of long-distance driving, squinted ahead. He looked down at his phone, shook it, frowned, and muttered, "No network again." The GPS had frozen. One of the teachers leaned over his shoulder. "Is this still the route?" The driver nodded, though uncertainly. After some minutes, they entered the road that would take them to the cave trip. The bus turned off to the other road and onto a wide but forgotten path. It was lined with thick trees on both sides, their branches stretching like arms overhead, shading the entire stretch. The laughter inside the bus continued, but Chika's eyes narrowed. Something about the road felt off. The forest looked too still. No movement, no chirping birds. 15 minutes in, the clouds gave way, and rain began to fall. First in soft droplets, then in heavy sheets that pounded the bus roof like angry fists. The students screamed and cheered at first. "Rainy trip vibes," Ada shouted, pulling out her phone to record. But her grin faded when she noticed the signal bar disappear. "No network," she murmured. The road behind them had turned muddy and waterlogged. When the driver tried to reverse, the tires spun helplessly. Then, with a sharp crack beneath them, the bus lurched. "Hold on!" someone screamed. The front wheels had dipped into a sunken patch of road, cracked, software. The bus groaned, engine sputtering, and then it died. Silence fell. They were stuck, stranded, and the rain wasn't stopping. Night came faster than expected, like a curtain suddenly drawn. The rain didn't stop. It only got louder, heavier, like the sky itself was mourning something. Inside the bus, the mood shifted. The excited chatter was gone. What replaced it was confusion, whispers, and the growing awareness that something was wrong. No network. Still? One of the boys muttered, waving his phone helplessly. Others tried their own, hoping one would miraculously connect. Nothing. The teachers did their best to calm everyone, assuring them help was probably on the way. But by midnight the air had turned cold, and the truth started to settle in. They were alone. By morning their snacks were finished. The bread and drinks some had packed were gone. Nobody had prepared for this. It was supposed to be a day trip, and now they are living in an unexpected nightmare. The rain continued into the second day, soaking the trees and turning the road into thick mud. The bus was still stuck, tilted slightly forward, water pooling beneath it. Then came the sounds. At first it was just the wind, or so they thought. But by afternoon, the whispers began. Some students said they heard crying. Not loud, just faint, like someone sobbing far away. Others heard dragging sounds, like chains being pulled across gravel. And once, during a moment of stillness, Chika swore she heard slow, deliberate footsteps passing near the bus. But when she looked, nothing was there. Fear crept in like smoke. Even the boldest students grew quiet. Ada clutched Chika's hand tightly and whispered, "Tell me, we'll get out of here." Chika didn't answer. Her mind was racing. She had started to notice things others ignored. Strange carvings on nearby tree trunks, lines, X's, symbols. And the silence of the forest. Not a single bird, not a single insect. Just the endless rain and the strange, grieving sounds. She remembered something her grandfather once told her. Some places remember pain, and if you walk there blindly, that pain might remember you too. Chika began to wonder. What kind of road had they really entered? The second night was colder than the first. Some students had curled up inside the bus, wrapped in their jackets and school sweaters, trying to sleep. Others sat outside under the bus shelter, shivering in the rain, afraid to close their eyes. No one had eaten. No one had laughed in hours. Chika sat quietly beside Ada, staring into the thick, dark forest. Her mind wasn't on the cold anymore. It was on the symbols she had seen on the trees. The X marks, the silence, the sorrow in the air. Her heart beat faster. Suddenly, a memory flashed. She remembered a chapter from her history textbook. The old slave routes that once crisscrossed the region. Roads hidden deep in the forest, used to move captives in chains to the coast. One of those roads, she recalled, passed through this region. Many slaves died on the way, left behind, forgotten, buried by the path itself. Her breath caught. "Ada," she whispered. "I think I know what this place is." "What do you mean?" Ada replied, eyes wide. "This road. I think it was part of an old slave route." At first, Ada looked confused. Then her eyes darkened. "Like a real one? With chains and—" "Yes," Chika nodded. "And maybe it's not just the rain or the forest making us scared. Maybe it's the pain this place still carries." Later, when Mr. Ocon came by to check on the girls, Chika gathered courage and told him what she had remembered. The teacher's face tightened. He looked into the woods, then slowly sat beside them. "They say that pain like that never leaves," he said quietly. "My grandmother used to say some roads are not just dirt and stone. They're soaked in memory. That road, it carries weight." Silence fell between them. Chika looked down at the mud beneath her shoes. "If the souls of those who died here are still trapped," she whispered, "maybe that's what we've been hearing, maybe they're crying, not to haunt us, but because they were never heard. By the third morning, the rain had slowed to a drizzle. The forest looked tired, as if it too had been weeping all night. The students were pale, weak, and quiet. No one had the strength to panic anymore. All they could do was wait, hoping for something to change. Chika sat with her knees pulled to her chest, eyes fixed on the ground. Her thoughts were spinning. Then it came. A story her late uncle once told her, buried deep in childhood memory. In old Igbo traditions, when spirits of the dead could not find peace, the living would build a wooden symbol, a simple offering made with their hands, and raise it to the sky. It was not just a symbol of remembrance, but of release, a way to say, "You are not forgotten." She stood up, shaky but sure. "Ada," she said, "I know what to do." The two girls moved carefully, searching the forest edge for sticks. Others watched them, confused but too weak to ask questions. Chika picked pieces of dry wood and bark, selecting them with care. Ada tied 2 sticks into a cross using her hairband. The carving was simple, a cross-shaped symbol, etched with small lines, not religious but cultural, a symbol of peace, of memory. They planted it in the soft mud, just a few steps from the bus. Not high, not grand, just honest. When they called the others to come, the students hesitated at first. But slowly, one by one, they gathered around. Even the teachers stood in silence, heads bowed. No one prayed loudly, no big speeches, just the sound of the wind and the quiet presence of children and adults who, for a moment, shared something ancient. Chika placed her hand gently on the wooden cross. "To those who were forgotten here," she whispered, "we remember you. May you rest." A breeze passed through the trees, soft but clear. For the first time since the trip began, the forest didn't feel angry. It felt still. That night something shifted. After the wooden offering was placed and their silent gesture made, the forest seemed to exhale. The thick weight in the air lifted just slightly. The cold didn't bite as harshly. And for the first time in 2 nights, the students began to sleep. Not from exhaustion, but from peace. They curled up near each other, some on the bus, others beside it, huddled in groups. No one heard strange sounds, no dragging chains, no crying. Just the soft rustling of trees as the wind moved through them like an old lullaby. Even Chika, who had barely rested since the first night, drifted off with Ada beside her, her hand still resting lightly on the wooden cross in the mud. Then came morning. At first it was the wind, not howling or violent, but calm and steady, like it was sweeping away something old. It passed through the forest and rustled the leaves gently. Then a sound no one had heard in days, chirping. Birds. Tiny, curious chirps, echoing from tree to tree like a song, returning to a place that had forgotten it. One by one, the students stirred. Their eyes blinked open to a brightness they hadn't seen since leaving home. The clouds had pulled back, revealing the soft gold of morning sun. Then, as if answering their silent hopes, the bus lights flickered. Click, click. Then a hum. The engine coughed. Chika sat up and gasped. The bus, the one stuck and dead for days, was suddenly alive, weak, but blinking and humming as though it too had rested. "Mr. O'Con!" a student shouted. The teacher ran to the front, checking everything. "The battery's alive, and the road." They all looked behind them. The path that had been flooded, broken, and overgrown was now open. Muddy, yes, but visible. Like it had never been blocked at all. Gasps and stunned silence followed. The students looked at Chika. She didn't say a word. She only looked up into the trees and whispered a silent, "Thank you." Something had let them go. Before they left, something pulled Chika to the edge of the trees. She wasn't alone. A few other students, curious, quiet, maybe still shaken, followed her as she stepped carefully into the woods. The morning sun now streamed through the trees, revealing what the darkness had hidden for days. And there it was. Half buried in the dirt lay a rusted metal shackle. Nearby, a length of broken chain, red with age and earth. The students froze. A few more steps revealed cracked wood, like the remains of carts, old tools with rotted handles. Even in one spot, what looked like a piece of a human bone, dry, thin, fragile. Ada covered her mouth, tears in her eyes. "This place," one boy whispered. "This was real." "It still is," Chika said softly. They were no longer afraid of ghosts or sounds. What haunted this road wasn't superstition. It was history, pain, memory. It was the silence of those who were never given the chance to speak. Chika turned to the others. "We can't leave like this. Not without doing something." She asked if anyone had candles, lighters, or even phone torches. One by one, students pulled out what they had. Some lit their flashlights. A teacher handed out small sticks. Someone found a half-used box of matches in the bus. Then, led by Chika, they formed a slow line. Not for escape, but for respect. They walked a short distance along the path, single file, holding light in their hands. No music, no jokes, just footsteps, quiet ones, a symbolic march, a walk for the ones who couldn't. Some cried, some stayed silent. All of them felt something they couldn't fully explain. A weight pressing down and yet something being lifted too. As they returned to the bus, Chika looked back one last time at the road. It was still muddy, still quiet. But now, it felt heard. And maybe, just maybe, the souls that lingered there could finally begin to rest. 3 days after they left, the students of St. Michael's School finally returned home. It was early morning when the bus, still muddy and dented, rolled through the school gates. Parents were already gathered, some weeping before the bus even came to a full stop. Others ran forward as their children stepped down, hugging them tightly, holding their faces, checking if it was really them. No one understood how they survived. The forest road had no signal, no open exit, and yet somehow they had come back. The school management moved quickly. A formal apology was issued. The principal himself stood before a press crowd, assuring the public that no student of this institution will ever be taken through that path again. That road, as far as the school was concerned, no longer existed. But the students remembered. Some refused to speak about it at all. Their smiles were different now, thinner, guarded. Others whispered about it in corners, passing glances when history teachers mentioned anything remotely close to slave trade routes. Only a few really understood what they had seen. Chika never spoke publicly about it. She never tried to go viral, never posted videos or shared photos. Instead, she took a plain notebook and wrote everything down. Every moment, every sound, every feeling. She titled it simply, "For the Ones Left Behind." In her quiet room, lit by a small lamp, she wrote not as a hero, but as a witness. Not to frighten, but to remember. She didn't want fame. She didn't want drama. She wanted people to know that some pain doesn't die, that some places still echo with the footsteps of those forgotten. That remembrance, real remembrance, is more than just a line in a textbook. Weeks later, when she passed by the school's history display, she paused. There was a new plaque placed near the wall. It read, "In memory of the untold stories beneath our feet." Chika smiled faintly and walked on, her notebook pressed gently to her side. This story is dedicated to Africans that were traded as slaves centuries ago. Dear viewers, what do you think about this story? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and share it with friends. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks, and see you in the next video. Bye.